Hey guys, so today I just bought my very first road bike with a hydraulic disc brake. However, there's a twist. This road bike has a flat bar, okay? So I literally just got it and I haven't tuned it up, haven't washed it, haven't cleaned it, but I want to show you guys what this bike looks like, and so far I'm actually pretty impressed with the performance. Okay, this is the Fuji Gran Fondo Froza, and it's 1.1. This one came out in 2017, and the only was out for about 2 years before they changed the name of the Gran Fondo Froza to the Fuji Absolute Carbon. Exact same bike, exact same geometry. The only thing different is the name from that point on. And if you go to Fuji's website today, you will still be able to find the exact same bike sold under the name of the Fuji Absolute. And the signature, I guess, curve over here for the road bump absorption, for the endurance geometry is still there. But yes, so showing you guys what I got today, and I'm gonna go clean this bike up, do a full tune-up, and come back and give you guys a detailed review of this flat bar endurance road bike. And I will also let you guys know what I think about a flat bar endurance road bike compared to my current ride, which is a kind of vintage now 2010 specialized Roubaix S-Works that had a full Duraset, a Dura Ace group set. All right, so it's going to be an interesting comparison, so stay tuned and see you in the next section. All right guys, as you can see, I'm taking the Fuji Gran Fondo Froza out for a casual ride, planning on doing about 20 miles going to Deering Estate, and we're just going to be mostly on the local small bike lanes. And at the end of the ride, I'm going to let you guys know what I think about this bike. Is it good for, you know, fairly long distance riding, and what I think in general about this bike. So we'll continue and we'll come back in a little bit. And just a little bit about the weather today. It's actually pretty windy, so average wind about 8 to 10 knots, gust winds at 15 to 20, and as we get close to the shore, it's gonna get more windy. Okay, so really put this bike into a good test, see whether it's gonna be holding good in the wind, and also whether I'm gonna be using a lot of energy riding this bike. Okay. All right, so in terms of urban city riding, this bike just trumps road bikes. The handling, the agility, especially on this kind of, like, you know, walkway, sidewalks, it handles so much better, okay? And I can get my speed up really quick compared to a road bike that I used to ride. Again, I have both bikes, so I can compare. So yeah, much more agile, especially if you ride a lot in the urban setting on the sidewalk, and it's gonna be much easier to handle. In terms of speed, it picks up really fast, again thanks to the pretty much road bike gearing right here. And so what we're gonna test later is at a kind of like a nice road condition where the road is nice and smooth and you can go really fast, how well this bike can handle that kind of situation. All right, so now we're at kind of a very flat, zero gradient road, and that's where I think the road bike is actually gonna have a lot of advantage, because with that job bar you can get really low. On this one I can't get low with a fixed position. I have to physically bend my ankle to go lower, and the wind is picking up. We're getting closer to the shore. You can probably hear it in the mic. So a lot of resistance, and so in this kind of situation, I think the flat bar performance is gonna suffer a little bit. However, you know, I'm still not using, you know, my full energy, and I can still kind of slice through the wind if I just go a little bit lower, right? So yeah, so just want to report back and let you guys know what you would expect in this kind of a situation. All right, so we got to our planted destination, and so halfway back, I want to give a kind of recap for the first half of the ride. In general, it performed, I think, just as good as my road bike. And it actually excelled at a certain point when we were kind of in the city where there are a lot of traffic and sometimes we have to ride on the sidewalk. The flat bar actually definitely helped with navigating around on the sidewalk. Okay, it's much agile compared to my wife's bike, which had a drop bar. It's kind of hard to navigate. And in terms of, you know, the speed and the gearing, I think it's comparable, very comparable. Again, excelled in the urban settings, on the sidewalks, on the flat surface, as I mentioned earlier in the footage, the like flat and wide open, fast surface. It's slightly slower than a road bike because you just cannot, you know, get to as low of a position that easily. You have to force yourself to get low. So in that sense, I think the drop bar actually really excels at kind of like wide open flat surface. Granted, in Miami there are not a lot of, you know, climbing, so in that sense, I think when you are deciding on whether you want a drop bar or a flat bar, it really depends on the riding location. So if you have a lot of mountain, like a lot of climbing to do, maybe a drop bar bike, and the space is wide open, maybe a drop bar bike. But if you have a lot of sidewalks, like twisty areas, like mixed urban and suburban riding, then maybe a flat bar might work better for you. And also, if you're not looking for the maximum amount of speed that you're gonna get, if you want a more enjoyable ride, I think a flat bar also works better. Okay, so again, this is a halfway impression, and we're gonna finish the ride and we're gonna go back and I'm gonna tell you guys what I think about this bike, and also some of the things you can do to make it a even better ride for you, and also maybe the possibility of actually converting the flat bar into a drop bar if, you know, that's what you want to do. All right guys, so it's been about a week since I owned this bike, and I've already took the bike out at least 6 times for rides, okay? And I recorded on Strava, maybe one ride I didn't record, but that's just how much fun this bike is, okay? I never thought I would actually quite enjoy a flat bar road bike in its, you know, purely stock setup. And I think Fuji actually did a great job in this Gran Fondo, kind of a flat bar conversion. So they made this endurance bike exceptional for a flat bar, like in the city, kind of a hybrid riding situation. The only time that I feel where my specialized S-Works Roubaix might excel is probably if there's a big hill that I need to climb on top of the hill, and also if it's really windy that I need to really, you know, tuck myself down to just get, you know, as aero as possible. Those are the only 2 situations that I think the S-Works Roubaix might do a better job. And everything else, this bike just handled exceptionally well with grace, okay? So I took it to the beach, and I think I showed it in the previous videos, so that's the only time I recorded something. And I also did a lot of neighborhood rides, just, you know, in the neighborhood, suburban area, kind of like flat tarmac roads, small, big roads. I can average like very easily like 11, 12 miles per hour. Granted, it's not like very fast riding, but it's with minimal efforts. So if you can find this bike, you know, it's carbon fiber, it's got full hydraulic disc brakes, and it's got 12 millimeter, okay, quick release, or like axle lock quick release kind of type of the axles, front and back. And it's bomb proof, like especially if you ride in the city, there are a lot of potholes and the road is not as good as like maybe you take your road bike, go and ride. This bike is gonna do better. okay? And as I mentioned previously in the video, like this kind of a narrow flat bar is great for navigating in the tight spaces, you know, twisty areas. This is very nimble and it's just faster to handle than a road bike. For that reason, and for the majority of my riding style, this bike just absolutely is a lot more fun than my S-Works Roubaix. Where I sell my S-Works Roubaix, no, that bike is kind of old, but it's still got a special place in my heart, and it's super light. That S-Works Roubaix, granted it's got Dura-Ace front and back caliper brakes. This one it's got hydraulic brake, entry level. That caliper brake works just as good as this one in dry conditions. That bike is a little more than 17 pounds, okay? It's extremely light. And this bike is about 19.5 to 20 pounds. With a whole bunch of accessories that I throw on it, probably like around 21 pounds. Still exceptionally light and just a lot of fun to ride. 105 group set. The shifter, it's interesting to note that the shifter is a thumb shifter, that the only thumb shifter Shimano makes for their road bike lines. Okay, so basically this is your only option. This is the RS 700, you know, 2x11 shifters. If you have a 2x11 setup for your group set, 105, Ultegra, Dura-Ace 11 speed, this is your only option, okay? For the flat bar, you cannot get the XD line or the Dury line. The Dury line is only compatible with Dynasys mountain bike setups. So unless you want to upgrade the whole chain, the whole group set to a mountain bike, which I wouldn't suggest, because this 11 speed is perfect for road riding. Okay, road endurance, maybe light gravel. This 50-34 front, I think 11-28 back, it's more than enough to handle those kind of situations, and it's very fast. If you convert to a Dury setup, you're not gonna get a large front chain, okay, unless you do some custom works. And so I think the current setup actually works perfectly fine. My only complaint for the RS 700 is it doesn't respond as fast. So sometimes you have to press, you hear the click, and it only upshifts or downshifts after maybe 0.5 second delay. And that's, you know, it's not as instantaneous as a Dura-Ace setup. My Dura-Ace group set is actually a 10 speed on the S-Works Roubaix from, you know, 2008, 2010. But it's so responsive and it's so tactile that I don't think anything else that I've ridden is as close compared to that Dura-Ace group set on my S-Works Roubaix. This one, no exception, it's just a little bit slower. Does it do the job? Yes. And it shifts extremely precise. It's just not as quick or responsive. So that's my only downside. So if you're not racing, I don't think it matters. If you're using this for the city, absolutely fun to ride. I thought really hard about what kind of upgrade that I would want to do to this bike. You know what, after about 6 rides in the city, I don't think it needs any upgrades. In its current setup, it's bomb-proof and it's plenty fast. If you want to go fancy, there are definitely options to do. So my dream setup, okay, eventually for a budget high-end setup would be, I want a really good set of front and back wheel set that's carbon and lightweight to reduce the weight quite a lot. And I want a good set of hydraulic disc brakes, which are not hard to get and they're not terribly expensive. So a good set of Dury XD brakes is around $180 for the front and back. That would be an easy upgrade to make this bike braking power a lot more responsive and modular. The wheel set is gonna make it roll much better if you want to go that route. So with those setups, it's upwards of $800 to $900 upgrade, okay? And besides that, maybe if I find a good deal for a carbon, a flat bar, and a better carbon seat post, and maybe a carbon saddle, I might jump in on the deal. But other than that, really, the group set is perfectly fine, okay? I don't see the need to spend, you know, extra $500-600 for a Ultegra
that's only gonna give you maybe 200 grams of a weight gain, compared to if you upgrade some of the other components like the brakes, better wheel set, and just in general, a light handlebar or seat post, that's gonna save you close to 2 pounds of the entire setup. So group set wise, no, I wouldn't recommend if you're gonna get the same bike, but everything else is a serious consideration for not a lot of money. So if you're serious about making this bike the best bike you can just get this top of the line easily. Even if you go Di2 or the E-Tab wireless setup, I think it's more than capable to put this bike in a sub 18 pound category. And if you convert it into a jump bar, sub 18 pound is definitely possible. But in its current state, about 20 pound, entirely stock setup, absolutely no need for upgrade. And maybe a better pedal. This pedal is like plasticky, it works fine, but definitely a better platform pedal if you're a kind of mountain bike guy, or you can go clipless, that's also a great route to go. So yeah, a great bike. And okay, one last thing I want to touch about is the ride quality. This rides more like a dedicated race road bike as opposed to my S-Works Roubaix, which absorbs a lot more bumps and it's a lot more compliant. Surprisingly, this Gran Fondo is not as road compliant. However, it's very rigid and your power transfer is going to be great, but you can feel a lot more of the road vibration coming from the back and the front. And I think it's mainly due to the massive 12mm axle in the front and the back. Nowadays, the 12mm is kind of industry standard. So in that regard, I guess most of the modern bike is going to feel that way. It's going to be more rigid. It's going to be better for the power transfer, but you're just going to feel slightly more of the road vibration. So that's a trade-off with the thicker axles. But that's the last thing I want to mention. Do I have any regret about buying this bike? Absolutely not. And if you guys can still find this bike, again, as I mentioned, it's very rare. They only produced this for 1 year. The next year, they actually changed the name to Fuji Absolute Carbon, and they made this into a flat bar carbon that's kind of more targeted into city urban riding, kind of high-end city urban riding. Exact same geometry though. So if you're looking for this bike, or actually post a link on where you can find it. You might be able to buy this used on eBay. You might be able to find this locally on your Facebook Marketplace or the OfferUp app, or even Craigslist. Okay, but this bike, I don't think it's being produced. The carbon flat bar, I don't think it's being produced nowadays in year 2023. So you have to find it used. Okay. If you guys have any questions about this bike in particular, feel free to ask me in the comment section down below. I hope you found this kind of a first impression and after ride kind of first impression video helpful. And if you did, please do hit the like button or subscribe to my channel. I will have more bicycle related videos coming out for you guys. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.